Hi, Atley. Nice to see you again. It's been a long time. Today, I'm happy to ask you a couple of questions about your experience with Clade. I'm excited to see what you think. First of all, could you please introduce yourself and share a bit about your background?
So my name is Atley George. I've been Zepto, which is a quick commerce company based out of India for about a year now. I work as a product manager in the shopping experience charter of Zepto, which includes everything from when the user lands on the homepage on the app till he converts and adds products to his carts and checks out. A big part of that, of course, is the cataloging images where we decide how each product will look, what sort of images we want for each of the product on the app. So I handle that bit too.
And what specific challenge were you facing with photo creation that you wanted to resolve?
To quickly summarize how things looked before we started working with Clade, most of these images were pretty dull with plain white backgrounds, and sometimes image quality itself was bad. Image aspect ratios, dimensions, etc., were all pretty random. So this is how we were functioning currently. And if we needed any sort of embellishments or edits to the images, we had to rely on either our design team who would help us out with their Figma tool, or we would try to handle it ourselves using some third-party free tools, image editing tools, etc., which of course did not turn out as good as if the designers were helping us. Given how non-scalable this process was, we wanted to have a standardized process in which we would deal with all of our images and arrive at the optimum output. That is where I stumbled upon Claid AI. It was a random Reddit search, and I happened to figure out that Claid AI was a company that specialized in this matter. So yeah, that is where we got in touch with the team, and we kickstarted our process on figuring out what the ideal images for our use case would look like. And there were multiple bespoke requests that were raised, and we ended up arriving at the best possible version that we had in mind. So very happy with the service we received from the team.
Sounds amazing. And why the dull and plain white background didn't work for you?
In the quick commerce industry, especially, right? Users arrive on the app to quickly purchase their product, which means a lot of the product identification happens through the images themselves. If you look at how people identify that this was a product that they had in mind, very few people read the title. It's mostly the images themselves and the quality of the image, the context in which the product is set, especially if it's an indulgence product. It creates a lot of difference in the tendency of the user to convert. So a chocolate bar with a plain white background is any day less attractive than a chocolate bar which has chocolate splashing in its background. These were some of the use cases that we had in mind, and we did some, like I mentioned earlier, we had to do some thought process regarding how to make this in a much more scalable manner rather than having to handle these individually. Although we did that too through Claid AI's context detecting capability, where it would pick up the right context for a packet of chips, a pack of chocolate, etc. And we were able to transition from the dull white backgrounds into something more contextual and attractive.
Could you please describe your experience of using Clade for photo creation?
So one thing that I really liked was, of course, the team was extremely responsive. I had dropped messages to a few POCs from the team, and almost all of them reached out to me and put me in touch with Yaro, as you already know. And one thing I really liked about the process was that we were given sufficient credits right off the bat so that we can really dig deep into the tool, explore it as much as we wanted to, and then take an informed call on whether this actually meets our use cases and the problems that we are trying to solve. So that was extremely useful. And also, when we were working, there were some use cases which weren't directly available, like right out of the box. But the team was very accommodating and responsive in terms of listening to our requests, ensuring that minor tweaks that we wanted to were taken into account. And the turnaround time was also great. And if there were any delays, which there were like very less of, even if there was, the communication and the cadence was on point, so that we were always in line with what was happening. So those are the things I really liked about working with Clade.
Amazing. And how did you go about creating images before discovering Clade? How was the process of the editing before that?
We have dedicated teams that look at cataloging as a track. Mostly involves people who are not specialized in, say, when it comes to image editing aspects of it. Their roles are mostly revolving around ensuring that the right information is captured and the images are captured. But if we had to embellish an image or edit an image and arrive at a really attractive catalog image for a given product, we had to always rely on either our designers or our creative design team to help us with arriving at exactly what we were looking at. And the turnaround time was huge. It might go up to several days, even depending on the bandwidth crunch. So that was one major pain point which we were able to solve through Clade AI. We were able to give all of these capabilities into the hands of our cataloging team itself, and the UI and the tool itself was very intuitive enough that they were able to pick up some of these tasks which we had to rely on specialized folks earlier. So this is how the process was and how we were able to turn that around through Plaid AI's offerings.
Can you please describe your experience of using Clade API?
So the API was very useful for us. As I mentioned earlier we had to pick up images one by one or in very small batches, and the turnaround time was huge given there was a lot of manual touches needed. But the API allowed us to handle thousands of images in one go. We were able to ideate on a certain background that we may want for a given batch of products. And for close to 20 to 30,000 products of ours, we were able to wrap up the entire process in a matter of few days. And this led to measurable increase in our conversions, and also it freed up a lot of bandwidth from our design and editing teams to focus on other tracks within the company.
The final question, what excites you the most about the potential of generative AI in your industry and overall?
So I work in quick commerce industry, which is, you can think of it as a subset of e-commerce industry. The entire value proposition is around delivering products as quick as we can on the same day, within a few minutes, as much as we can. When it comes to e-commerce and both quick commerce and also the applications of generative AI are, like, I would say, endless, right? Starting with the cataloging piece, which we are discussing right now, ensuring that the images are up to the mark, ensuring that the product title is the best possible it can be, where we have the right information and it is as trim as it can be, and all the information that you see in the details page of a product when you click on a product, all of these today in almost all the platforms out there are manually filled up, and there is a lot of scope there for a generative AI to pick up this information which is already there out there on the internet, and help us input this in a very scalable manner. This is purely from automating this entire cataloging bit that we have today in the e-commerce platforms, right? But the applications of Gen AI would be much bigger than that. When it comes to recommendation systems, today we have data science models that run it for us. But the generative AI that can be trained on very specific data that a given institution has, depending on the user data that we already have, we'll be able to generate much better recommendations that we can offer, and we would be able to plug a lot of the gaps which even our data science model hasn't been able to pick up right now. I know that Instacart today in the US, they run their entire recommendation systems through AI models, and hopefully, like, that is one place we would also like to eventually get to. This also would involve, instead of your general search for a product and then add that one product to the cart, you would rather input, this is the meal I want to have for the next 3 days in this week. Tell me what all I would need for it and the quantities that I would need them in. Think of an experience that would, in that one click, add all of those items to the cart in the right quantities. And maybe you can even put in price related restrictions that you have. And tool automatically adjusts all of that for you, takes all of that as parameters and adds all of the relevant products that you want into your cart. So those are some North Star or like into 10 experiences that I believe AI can really help out with. So yeah, recommendations and catalog experience automations.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the conversation. It's been pleasure working with you, and I hope for the future cooperation. Thank you.
Thanks, Yaro.